you look around at people's journeys, particularly on social media when it comes to their business, you will be forgiven for thinking that it's always roses and it's always about the next step and it's always about the growth and it's always about constant momentum, because that's the highlight reel. And when you've been in business even a little while, you will have recognized that just like any journey, there are times when you go fast, times when the transport has been delayed, and times when you get a tailwind and you can go faster. And how you navigate that business journey in alignment with your life is going to define whether it's a fun experience or a really hard slog. Hi, I'm Sarah Greener. I'm the host of the Moxie Movement, and today we are going to jump right in and talk about how does the business journey feel? One of the big themes I start to see at this time of the year is, oh man, I was so excited to get into 2024. 2024 was going to be my year. We had all these amazing plans and I was really keen to get in and get it going and get it executed. And it's coming up to the end of February and you feel like so many roadblocks have come up for you and they've slowed them down. Or the other side of the coin is the business is going so well that there are so many opportunities, so many different ways that you can go. There's so much momentum that you're overwhelmed by the choice that's going on. And that is literally the journey that we're on, of the good days and the bad days, the times when it feels like there's no opportunities, and then the times when it feels like there's too much opportunity, is just all part of the journey. How we navigate that through that is super important. And at the Moxie Movement, we want to make sure that we're thinking about not just how we navigate through the business journey, the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride that is building your own thing and making an impact and leaving a legacy, that also intertwines with your life as a mum, as a wife, as a human being with some time and some needs for herself, and how those two fit together. One of the things, particularly for those of you listening in New Zealand and Australia, our kids are back at school finally for a full week of school, and we feel like we've got back into a bit of a routine and rhythm. And it's the first time that we're actually able to go, here we are. Now we can get started. Now we can get working. Now we can get some momentum happening on the plans that I wanted to create. And here's the thing I know is that you don't get any less challenges. You don't get any less speed bumps as you go through your journey in business. They are different, and the way that you deal with them is different. And the same thing with life, right? The speed bumps that come along and slow down your momentum in the life that you're building are different at every chapter. So Sarah and Johnny in Thailand had different speed bumps when we had no children and no mortgage than we do today when we have an 11-year-old and we have a mortgage and we have a couple of businesses to run. There are different speed bumps. And there's definitely this kind of two-speed thing that can happen when you jump into a new chapter. I think a new year always feels like this beautiful blank page to get started and get running at all the plans in your business. And when you're not killing it and creating all these amazingness things every day, sometimes it can feel a bit demoralizing. One of the things I talked with my clients about over the last 6 weeks, as we've come back to work, and everybody comes back at different times, particularly for women in business because you've got children, how the school holidays fall and how the school holidays lie is actually going to impact how you operate your business. It is easier, personally, this is just an opinion, but it's easier for us to build a rhythm around Scarlett going to school and coming home from school and her after school activities during term time than it is during school holidays. In school holidays, there's less of a rhythm. We have fun stuff going on all the time, but it's not in any set routine or ritual. Versus the school term, there is a rhythm to it. She has to be at school at a certain time, the bus goes, she comes home, she has after school activities on certain days, she has different activities on the weekends, and they're all in a rhythm when it comes to school term. It's much, much easier to fit your business around that than the chaos of school holidays where this just feels like humans going in every which way. If all you had to do as a business owner was just run a business, it would be so simple. If you didn't have to look after your health and well-being, if you didn't have to look after your relationships, if you didn't have to look after your children or a home, it would be simple. Maybe that's an exaggeration. It would be simpler. There are still a lot of moving parts, but there are less moving parts. We have to acknowledge as female business owners that there is not just the moving parts that come from our business. There are moving parts across all those areas of our lives, and how they fit together is going to be different depending on the season that you're in, depending on the age of children, depending on the way that their schooling is operating. Are you homeschooling? Have you got kids that actually at school? Is everyone of good health at the moment, or have you got some health challenges? Are you at the start of your business journey where you're just starting out in those early $10,000, $20,000 months and you aren't getting to that place yet where you feel financially secure and stable? Or are you at the other end of the spectrum where we've got plenty of cash coming through, but now we're coming up with other challenges, like challenges with team members or challenges with systems and processes, and everything fits together in a different way depending on, one, where are you at in your business, and two, what is the season of life that you're in. And I think it's really important that we give ourselves grace, because it's really easy when things aren't going to plan, when kids are sick. And I don't know about you, even though it's beautiful weather here at the moment, there are so many bugs around. I just think it's because kids have been off doing their own thing, and then you gather them all back together at school and they pass these bugs around. And so dealing with that, or there are changes in relationships happening, whether that be your change in relationship with your parents. So maybe they've been living independently and now you need to help them with some care, or maybe you have a friend, or you are going through a change in your intimate relationship, so you're separating. Like, all of these things impact what's going on in your life and business. And I think it's really important not to treat them in isolation. What happens when we start to treat them in isolation is we go, I've got all this stuff happening in my life, and then I start beating myself up for not doing all the things I should be doing in my business. And they don't happen in isolation of each other. You are the same person that shows up for business that was dealing with mum and dad needing to go into care, or kids being sick, or a health issue with a close friend, or even maybe your own. You are the same person. How those things fit together is definitely going to impact your business. What I also know to be true is that we're really good at humans at focusing on all the things that haven't worked. What happens when things start to go not to plan? We start to focus on the things that go not to plan. We see more and more things that are going not to plan. Kids being sick, employees not showing up, not having enough stock in, clients cancelling. We start to focus on the things that are going badly, and we forget to stop and pause and look at all the things that are going really well. Because if you stopped and paused and went, if I looked at all the small little wins in business, even when the kids was homesick, even when I wasn't getting to work on time because I was up all night with a crying baby, or even when I was only working 10 hours because I was recovering from surgery, even when you've still got all these amazing wins. And if you stopped and paused and look at how much you've achieved in spite of everything that you're dealing with in life, you might give yourself some more grace, because this is a journey. It's not a race to the finish. There is always more to do, and you don't have to have it all done right away. If things aren't quite going to plan, I always say pause, have a look at what you have achieved, because we're very good at spending a lot of time looking down at our feet and just taking the next step and working our way through the process without taking a step up and going, look how far I've come. Because I would put money on the fact that 5 years ago you would be pretty freaking impressed about what you've achieved, even with everything that's going on in your life. We want to think about our seasons. I say, figure out where you want to go and then make a plan to get there. Here's the thing though, that just gives us the illusion of control. Now, obviously deep down inside, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and that's okay. And I like to feel in control, but planning our lives is definitely about the illusion of control. Like I go, this is how things are going to play out. If I showed you all the plans we've made over the years in our business where we've gone, this is what we're going to achieve, and then while we were doing that, the universe was going, okay, sure, that's what you're going to do. How can you do that with all these difficult things that are coming up? I always laugh and say the very first time we went away and planned out how we were going to live our life and how we're going to build our business in alignment with that, while we were away doing this planning, so Johnny and I would go away for a weekend and do all this planning. While we were away doing that, engine on our boat blew up, which is like a 6-figure problem. You have to find $100,000 plus to replace the engine. Our cat got eaten by a dog, holy moly, and one of our key team members resigned, all in the same weekend. And it's just laughable that you think you can control all of the external factors with just a plan. And yet that's what we do. We do this plan and we're like, so it's all going to go to plan. I'm going to do all these things. And then the universe goes, oh, sure, and sends you some challenges to check, is this what you really want? All of those external things are not inside my control. All I've got control over is how I show up for them. And if I can look at the things that are challenging my plan and make adjustments to the plan, is where I have my control. I can go, oh, that's going to take a little bit more cash to buy a new engine. I'm going to have to pause this project and recruit for a key team member. I'm going to need to spend some time and money burying said cat and spending some time with my daughter, and she was only 3 at the time, so talking about grief and death and things like that. Those things still have to happen even while the business runs. I think it's really important to understand that life will require you to navigate away from the plan, and that's okay. The plan is there to bring you back in alignment over time. Rather than creating a plan and assuming everything's going to work in alignment with that plan, it's like a tattoo on your butt and you can't move away from it at all. Treat it like this is what we need to achieve, and sometimes we're going to have to move the puzzle pieces around to make it fit as the outside environment changes for us. And if you can do that, if you can be adaptable and resilient and resourceful with what you've got, you're going to find this journey so much easier. So that's the first thing. One is that your plan is just the illusion of control. You don't have control over the external environment, and your job as a business owner is to have the skills and tools in your tool belt to be able to adapt the plan as you go along, still in alignment with the vision that you're trying to achieve. And then the second thing that I think is really important is that there are 2, I think, really clear speeds in business. The first speed is we're building, we're leveraging, we're creating something new, we're moving forward with momentum. And that's where we're maybe doing some big new project. We're moving into a new space, we're hiring a new employee, we're launching a new product. We've got these growth phases. And you don't need to be in that all the time, especially when you're someone who likes to be busy and has been someone who's been a super overachiever their whole lives. There's every chance that you are going from building project to building project, and it's exhausting. There is actually another speed that you need to incorporate into your business journey, and that's the consolidation, the maintenance speed. And the most recent example I've got of this is end of last year. We were like, we're good now, we're ready to book our tickets to Brazil. The house needs to be renovated. We're going to do that over the summertime because Johnny's no longer working on the boat. Let's get that renovated. Let's get so that the house is ready to Airbnb and we can start our trip, traveling and running our businesses remotely from early 2024. Instead, what happened was we decided to go to the UK for Christmas to go and see family, and we jammed that in there with the renovations as well. It was an incredibly busy last 2 months of the year. We then spent Christmas and the early start of January in the UK, which is different to New Zealand summer. When we got back, it was like, we really need to book these tickets to Brazil. We said we were going in February, let's go, so we can go and get traveling and working remotely. And when we stopped and took a breath, we were really in this, we have to do the next thing. We were performing for this, you must be busy, you must be working, you must be always doing a project on your business. And the truth of the matter is, as a family and as businesses, we just needed space and time to consolidate for a little bit before we change something big again. Now, we've tested this traveling and running the businesses, and we also know that there's going to be new challenges when we extend it past that 30 days, that 6-week time frame. To jam that on the back of a busy season with the renovation of the house, with the business building over the summer period, with traveling to the UK, it was just too much. So instead, we decided to take a step back, consolidate on what we'd done in 2023, and give ourselves 3 months of just a maintenance phase where we just do what we were doing before we did the renovation, just doing the work because it was working, and just taking a breath. And you need these consolidation phases. If you are constantly building and going to the next project and going to the next project and building again and going to the next project, you break stuff. Mostly you break your business and you break yourself, because you need space and time to go, great, that project is now finished, it's working, let's let it do its thing for a little bit, consolidate, let it maintain it, make sure we can repeatedly do it over and over again. Yep, that works. Now come back over to the growth speed and start growing and building and developing the next project. And checking in with yourself. If there's a whole lot of life stuff coming up and getting in the way of you getting what you want to get done in 2024, it's just a moment to pause and go, do you need to be in a building, a growth speed, or do you need to just pause for a moment, consolidate, maintain what you already have, and then come into the growth phase again? And that will happen sometimes for business reasons and sometimes for life reasons. So just recognize that, 1, planning is the illusion of control, and 2, you can go at both speeds. You don't have to be roaring the engine going super fast. You can sometimes be in 3rd gear, just cruising along a motorway without working too hard and making sure that the engine's just ticking over. Your journey is going to be like that. And I think as women, we have to be even more mindful of how this fits in with what's going on from a life point of view. There are going to be different ages and stages where children are going to require more of you as a parent. There are going to be times at school where you want to be more involved, times where you want to be less involved. There are going to be experiences of life, of parents going through stuff, of friends going through stuff where you need to invest more time, focus, and energy in that. And that's totally okay, because what's most important to you and where you invest your time in your life just as much as your business matters. And making sure the two of them fit together for you is the most important thing. Please, if you're feeling like you're running constantly and things are knocking you off the path all the time, a little pause, a little grace, celebrate the little wins, because they don't have to be big ones all the time, and know that this is just part of your journey. I know that on social it looks like all good stuff happening all the time for everyone, and as well as I do, that we don't share all the bad stuff either. We didn't share all the bad stuff when we had babies, we didn't share all the bad stuff in our relationships, and we didn't share all the bad stuff on our business journey. And while it would be really nice if it was totally transparent, everybody was sharing everything about everything so that we could see the reality of their experience, we just know that's not going to happen. It's really important that you get yourself in a place where you have other friends that can share the reality of building a business and a life and being a mum and being a wife all together, rather than just the highlight reel that you see. Because when you don't see below the surface, when you don't understand all the other pieces that have come into it, you're just setting yourself up for failure. You're competing with the glossy, shiny, photoshopped version of someone rather than the real version when they've just woken up without their makeup on. Give yourself some grace, because your journey will have some ups and some downs. And at the same time as the ups and downs are happening, you are still on track to the vision that you are creating. You are still in alignment with the life and the business that you want. Even if you're in a maintenance phase right now, you're doing great. And the way that we get there is by taking a breath and remembering you're the glorious exception. You can build a legacy and a business and a life with your family all at once, and you don't have to sacrifice yourself to do that. Until next time, stay moxie.